What up, everybody? Fresh off watching Raising Kanan episode 207, No Love Lost. A very interesting episode. A lot happened, eventful episode. But the thing that necessarily caught my eye the most was the Thomas siblings all making moves in this episode, wrong moves that I think that could be their downfall, that's going to come back and could possibly be the downfall. We could have seen in this episode the groundwork being laid for the downfall of the Thomas family, the Thomas family drug empire. So I'm gonna start with the most obvious thing that happened. That was Marvin hiring Marco Baselli. Marco Baselli. And that other guy to do a hit on his ex-girl, Tony. Now, first thing you gotta say about this, he didn't even consult with Rock about this. He took matters into his own hands. He had the day off when Rock and Kanan went to the woods. He had the day off. He went to go hunt out Tony, find out where she was living, everything else. Came back in the last episode. I thought he was getting Marcos Boselli's information, to kind of have a trump card on the Italian mob. We know where you live now, so we have access to you like you do us, because we already see they knew where Rock lived. So I thought he was playing that type of game, trying to find out information, but no, he's gonna use this kid to put a hit out on his ex-girl, the snitch Tony. And the thing is, he could have let that slide, honestly, in my eyes. She's out of mind, out of sight. She didn't show up to court. Yeah, he had to do some probation, but the charges were dropped. So, no harm done, really. He didn't have to do no time over it. He got in the time, in the probation or whatever he did have to do with that class, that was just for the weed he was caught with anyway, just because he was pulled over with weed in his pocket. So I think he could have let that one slide, to be honest. But if he was going to make a move, he should have definitely consulted Rock. And then when when Marco Boselli doing the job for $5K, when he saw Boselli's son is kind of like lowball, and he was so happy to do it too. So he was just trying to, you can see he's not too experienced. He's just trying to he's almost like a little bit older version of Kanan. That's like sending, he might have done just as well sending Kanan and not Crown, Kanan and Famous to do that job, because the two guys that he did send was jokes. But Marco Baselli did hit a good shot though. He hit that girl between the eyes. But Marco Baselli didn't want his dad knowing about it. So both of these guys, Marvin and Marco, were out of line. Marco didn't step to his dad. Marvin didn't step to his sister, who are both their bosses in the business they're in. And you see it went wrong, because I know if Marco's dad would have let him do it, probably he went around his dad because he wasn't going to let him do it. But if he was going to let him do it, he's not going to send him in there with, I don't know that man's name, but that clown. I'm just going to call him the clown. He not going to send his son in there with that clown. He going to send his son in there with somebody with a little experience, like the guy who saved Kanan from that same clown. And when they put the hit out on Rock. But he definitely wouldn't have did that. But now we're going to see Marco Baselli got shot. We don't know if he survived that or not. But if he survived that, number one, he's probably gonna tell on Marvin for sending him, because he's gonna be looking at life for the murder of Tony. And he's probably gonna start talking. At least he gonna tell on Marvin. Most likely he gonna be talking. So if not, if he's actually dead, then Sal Baselli and the Italian mob are gonna be coming after Marvin. They are gonna want revenge. Even if their son is locked up, they're probably gonna want revenge for that. Either though it's kind of his son's fault, but nonetheless, they're gonna take their anger out on Marvin. And if they ever find that clown, I'm the same clown I've been talking about. If they ever find that clown who went with Marco, they're going definitely, he's done. He need to just run away, never be found again. That's what I'd do if I was him. I'd be out of the state quickly, trying to start from scratch if I had to. But you know that guy's a clown, so he probably gonna go back there and he's gonna get killed real quick. So Marco Baselli might be snitching, or we're gonna see the Italian mob possibly going after Marvin. And Marvin, to survive that, if for the better sake, the kid is dead, because I would rather have to deal with the mob and they're gonna be angry regardless. I'd rather have no cops looking at me than the mob and cops looking at me. So he might have to deal with them. Like, I compared this show to New Jack City a few times. My favorite New Jack City scene is the Nino Brown motorcycle drive-by while the Italians were eating pizza wherever they were at in New Jack City, and he went by on the motorcycle with his Tech 9 and sprayed up the whole block. Might have to see Marvin do something like that if he's gonna survive this. So anyway, I don't think there's nobody in Raising Kanan built like Nino Brown though. Nino Brown, it was a different type of gangster. And just to throw this in, if Breeze is somebody that we haven't seen yet, if it's not Unique or Malcolm Howard or whoever famous, if it's somebody we haven't seen, we could at least hope that Breeze is a Nino Brown type character. I mean, that's what we need, right? We need a Nino Brown stepping up and Raising Kanan to make this show a little more interesting, right? Okay. So takes me on to the next move that was made in today's episode 207. No Love Lost was Rock stepping to Cartier Dunn's Fareed's Baltimore Connect, I want to say. He works for, he's I want to say middleman. He's basically the middleman. He basically is the go-between. By what I got out of that, he's the go-between between Cartier Dunn's Fareed and the distro in Baltimore. Basically, so Cartier Dunn's Fareed only has to deal with Draymond. That's his name. I don't know what I had just called him. I mean, called him something else. But the guy's name is Draymond. So he only has to deal with this guy, Draymond, who is the Baltimore middleman. But he's a very important middleman because he handles the business that covers the entire district of Baltimore. So he has a lot of territory. So Rock found this out at dinner. She stirred up Cartier Dunn's Fareed's buttons because this guy kind of disrespected him in front of her. So she stirred up Cartier's buttons, and just like she did Lou's in the last episode, and she got Cartier to beat up and to rough up Draymond. So now, and then she found Draymond later on and stepped to him about doing business with her instead of Cartier. And this is, oh, that's a no-no in the game in so many ways. Not smart move, not smart business. Number one, she don't know. She don't know this guy. She don't know what kind of dude he is. And we already see he's done followed her. He's tracking her. Now he already knows who her supplier is. He can step to her supplier. He knows the Juliana from the bodega now. Now he got all Rock's information. Not a good move. On top of that, Cartier Duns for Reed, when he finds out that Rock has stepped to one of his people, one of his customers, I'll just call him some worker, customer, whatever you want to call that man. When he finds out that Rock did that, he's not going to be happy about it. I can tell you one thing. I was in this life almost 10, probably over 10 years, at least 10 years. And there was a time when one of my competitors and me, we hung out all the time. We rolled around, smoked together, drank together, did whatever, right? At the same time, we're hitting licks from place to place. Guess what we never do in the process of doing this? We never stepped on each other's toes. I never stepped to nobody he was dealing with, and he never stepped to nobody I was dealing with. But that's just a part of this game. If you want to make it out the game, that's the way you need to approach things. It's not, you shouldn't be behaving like Rock was stepping on. That's what you call stepping on someone's toes. And that's a quick bullet when you do that. So not good. On top of that, she's dealing with somebody she don't know. Cartier Duns for Reed said he'd been dealing with the man a long time. He has a little more control over this dude. This guy's not somebody she gonna be able just to control like that, and it's not looking good if he can possibly cut out Cartier and work with her. Then he could possibly kill her and go straight to her distro. We don't know what's gonna happen with this, but we know he's watching her, and I think this could possibly be Rock's downfall right here, step into this guy. And as far as Lulu, we have carryover from the last episode where he took out Crown Camacho. Now he is in debt to some Jamaicans on behalf of Crown Camacho and their record label as business partners. Crown's debt became his debt, and he's in debt to these guys. And they've jumped him. They showed up at his studio. And in order to cover this, he has now just joined partnership with Cartier Duns for Reed. So Cartier Duns for Reed has a big role in a lot of this that's going on right now. But for this specifically, Lulu made a big error as far as his record label. I don't know what this is going to mean long term for him and where he's going to end up, but this is a big time error in regards to his record label. And let me explain this how. Even though he's now 75% owner instead of 50, when he was 50% owner, he was 50% owner with Crown, and that was somebody he was definitely stronger than. You seen him punch him in the face, no retaliation. Even when Crown pulled a gun on him, he turned his back on him. He stepped to him and then turned his back to him. Major disrespect. If Cartier Duns for Reed pulls a gun on Lulu, do you think Lulu's going to turn his back on him? I don't think so. Not the same type of brother. Two different type of guys right there. So yeah, he is, and he kind of felt like he had to do it, because how is else he gonna, pay those guys, pay Crown's debt off? He should at least took some time to consider it. Just like Marvin moved too quick to take out Tony, didn't consider talking to Rock. Lulu he specifically did this because he didn't want to bring Rock in, because he knew she would try to take over things. But at the end of the day, he knows how Rock is. He knows how she gonna do business. Cartier done for each a question mark, and he knows he ain't gonna be able to bully this guy around. So Thomas family all making crucial mistakes in this particular episode that could be leading into their downfall, especially Marvin. What we seen with the Basellis is the number one thing takeaway, because that's almost guaranteed gonna immediately have consequences. Even in the trailer for the next episode, we see the Boselli and the Italian family step into Unique, asking what's going on. You see Unique step into Marvin. So we already know this gonna have immediate consequences. And for Marvin's sake, he better hope that Marco Boselli is dead and he ain't in there talking, or he gonna have a lot of problems on his hands.